actually. So thank you for joining us. I'm Paul, and let's see, I am an AI researcher. So one of the things that I study a lot is natural language processing, how computers can understand human speech, right? So because nowadays, for instance, on social media, there's so much information that human beings can't keep track of everything. So we need robots basically to read the internet and detect, whether it's fake news or spam or, cybersecurity threats and those sorts of things, or just to sell stuff, right? That's also a place natural language processing is used. So that's what I study most of the time. I went to Opoku School, as you may know. From there, I proceeded to Swarthmore College in the United States. So I took the SAT. I went to Swarthmore. I did economics there and engineering. And then I continued to do my PhD at MIT, where I studied, more algorithms and optimization and stuff like that. How's that? I don't want to keep rambling. I can definitely keep rambling.
That was very good. Yeah. So you're a researcher now. Are you also a lecturer or a professor at MIT?
No, actually, no. So after I did my PhD, I spent a year as a postdoctoral researcher at MIT. And actually what I was doing was I was spinning out my dissertation work into a startup. So it wasn't, at some point during my PhD, I decided I didn't want to be in academia, but I wanted to do entrepreneurship. So I wanted to do the research more in the industry. And so that's how that happened. So, but I spent some time as a postdoc and came to the industry afterwards. So now I work at, so I have a startup that does some work in a related space. I work as a director of data science with a company called Dun & Bradstreet. And they actually, NLP, I do NLP for them. So they do business intelligence. They use, this kind of algorithms for investigating, for instance, who wants to buy your products. Finding the people who want to buy your products that you're selling.
Okay. Sounds very interesting. Sounds like a fun day job.
Sorry, could you say that again?
I was saying that it sounds very interesting, like something you do on a fun day.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting stuff.
Okay. So let's cut to the chase and just talk a little about your time at the NSMQ. Do you have any fond memories from your championship that year? Do you have any particular highlights you want to share with us?
Where do I start? So, I mean, the whole competition was full of, wonderful memories and big moments. I think, so for instance, as an example, the contest with Wesley Girls, which was decided by about 3 points, right? And this was during the second stage. I think it was a true or false question that separated us. So, I mean, it was very competitive, very thin margins, and of course, when you come out of something like that at the right side of it, it sticks with you, right? Our contest with Presec, I saw you guys posted that one.
Yes, we posted that one.
Of course, Presec is always the school to beat, right? If they do very well. They're always in the, later stages of the competition. So anyone meeting them is gonna hear things like, okay, if you beat Presec, right, then it's your trophy, right? So that definitely was, again, that was another close competition. I think it was 2 riddles that separated us. We were tied most of the way till the end, you know?
The last round really decided the competition.
Yes. So that again, that sticks. And of course the final where you actually get to lift the thing. Yeah. I mean, obviously. And again, this was Peter's. The final I think we had with St. Peter's. And at the opposition team, there was a guy called Apirias.
Okay.
Who I went to JSS with him.
Oh.
And we represented our JSS in the Kiddie Quiz, which is the JSS version of the National Science and Maths Quiz. At the time, I don't think it happens anymore. There might be some versions of it. But yeah, we represented our school together in JSS, so it was, you know, it felt like, you know, a big moment to meet in the final, right? Yeah, so, and we were losing, actually, in the final round. We were losing until the riddles. So, I mean, the whole competition, where do I start, right? I can keep the whole, I mean, it was a wonderful, wonderful experience in so many different ways. And if there are very specific questions from audience I can answer,
yeah,
I'm sure we can keep mining this for hours.
That's true. I mean, the only question I've seen so far that people wanted to know what you were doing, and we've already talked about that. Somebody was asking if you were married, but I was saving that question for later in the live to keep the suspense going.
All right.
Yeah. So I think the last question here for life after the NSMQ was: do you remember any particular things that your team did to celebrate? Do you remember any of the celebrations? What were some of the things you guys did when you won?
Well, the school, actually, I like to say it was anticlimactic in some ways, because right afterwards, you know, the competition happens when everybody's at home. At least during our time, I don't know. I think it still happens that way. Yeah. So everybody's at home. There were people in Accra who helped us celebrate right afterwards, but then they went home, right? And so I remember Joma, our teacher, who handled the OWAS squad for many years. He actually didn't want us to do Jama.
Oh, right.
He was like, yeah, on the bus, he was like, don't do Jama until we get to Kumasi, don't do Jama, please. And so when we got to Kumasi, he's like, you can do Jama now. And we were like, we don't feel like it anymore.
Yeah.
Right? So in that sense, it was a little anticlimactic. But after, you know, we got to the school, and then we had our anniversary celebration. Right? That's when, you know, like, they took us out, and, you know, they gave us nice food. You know, in boarding school, good food is kind of short supply. At least it used to be that way. So that was very meaningful for us. I mean, we didn't. I think nowadays there's a lot more, like, there's prize money, right, and the trips to foreign countries and stuff, which is very cool. I'm very happy. I think that's a very positive step. We didn't have that. Yeah, there was like, they gave us some money. They gave the school some money and said congratulations. But that's not why we did it, right? We did it for exactly what we got out of it, which is, you know, during the preparation for the contest, you learn so much, right? You teach yourself how to take exams, basically. That's the way I view it. So a lot of my success afterwards, I would say I can attribute to having trained myself to solve problems under pressure, right? The logic and the calculations and stuff. It's stuff, you know, you in college, for instance, all the exams are kind of like that, or most of them. If you are doing the GREs, it's useful. Even like generic interviews for jobs, right? Some things like that. So it will help you. You know, it will help you way much later. And so every day I'm still celebrating my victory because it got me, in many ways, it got me to where I am today. So, you know,
That's
I'm
really
still celebrating.
Okay. One fan wanted to know if you still follow the quiz and which teams have impressed you in recent times.
I follow the competition all the time, of course. And it has become actually very easy. It was harder when it wasn't live streamed online, but now it's live streamed.
Yeah.
There's no reason not to watch it, right? So I follow very closely, and I will say that all the winners in the recent years have been very impressive. I mean, Augustine's very impressive.
Yeah.
Prempeh College, very impressive. I mean, kudos to all those wonderful contestants. Not just the winners.
Yeah.
I mean, again, like people in social media like to compare people to each other. You know, the greatest, and I try to avoid that because, I mean, a lot of the contestants are incredible, you know, and the way sometimes matches are decided, like you need a little bit of luck to shine in your way, you know. So I've been impressed, and I'm continually impressed by all the winners, and not without exception. Without exception, I don't know how I would do today in the particular formats that the quiz has adopted, you know. So I don't really compare myself or like to be compared for that matter. But I'm really impressed by the standard of the show recently, and very, very, very much so. I probably shouldn't say much more because, you know, those rivalries, online fights will start. You know, Prempeh boys will start fighting our boys. And, you know.
Okay.
And the preset guys will come out, of course. You know.
It's a real thing. Yeah. So the next question here was on your education afterwards. You got degrees from Swarthmore and MIT. Do you want to maybe talk about that a little?
Okay. So Swarthmore College studied engineering and economics. So Swarthmore is a liberal arts college. It allows you to like craft. It can even allow you to craft, you know, your own major if you want. But what I did was more kind of standard. It's harder to do 2 degrees at non-liberal arts colleges, but in my college it's pretty standard for people to do that because it affords the freedom. I wanted to do economics because I thought I might at some point end up in entrepreneurship, right? Business. So I thought it would be good to understand, even though economics isn't the way it's taught in undergrad. It's not really entrepreneurship economics. It's more like the theory of, you know, how the market works. But it's fundamental, and I think it has helped me a lot. But of course, I always wanted to be an engineer, and so that was the main thing for me. And so I was particularly interested, you know, in algorithms and mathematics. Just from childhood, I felt an affinity for that. My dad wanted me to do medicine. It's just not where my heart was. So I went with more the mathematics, algorithms kind of route. And so I went to MIT afterwards for my master's. I studied, for my master's, I did a lot of teaching, which was very useful experience. And I also studied systems biology. Which is just a fancy way of saying systems biology. It's just a fancy way of saying it was math, basically. So how do you describe what happens in a cell at a very small volume? So people watching might have heard definitely know probably mass action kinetics, right? Those equations for how the reactions happen. They don't work. They work very well for approximately at large volumes, which is what we care about in high school or JSS. But if you start looking at the cell, it's a very small volume. You can't use those equations anymore. You can't use the model anymore. So you have to think about, you know, where did the model come from? Which assumptions did I make to arrive at the model, and how can I relax them? So to describe what happens inside the cell, like DNA, RNA, those kind of at that scale of volume. So that was my master's. I did that. The publication is out there for anyone who's interested. If you just look for my azunre.com, I have my publications linked there.
Yeah.
My PhD was on optimization.
Okay.
So optimization just means you're trying to find like maybe the maximum or the minimum of some very important quantity, right? So maybe the problem I worked on was reflection from a solar panel, because I think it's important. Okay. It's important to us. We have a lot of sun. I wanted to know whether I can contribute something to improving the efficiency of that, or like understanding how it works. So what happens when the sun moves across the sky, right? Depending on where the sun is, it's going to reflect some of the light that falls on it, the solar panel. And of course, that's a loss. It's an inefficiency that you want to eliminate. And so the problem was, how do you minimize that reflection? Yeah. And that the reflection comes, there's a model for it, right? So you have a model you can code in the computer that will predict the reflection from the panel when you change various things inside your panel, like how thick are some of the layers, which materials you use. So the optimization is a combination of parameters to minimize the reflection. Okay. That was my dissertation work, and to do that we had to come up, or we developed an algorithm of a specific kind. The problem with many algorithms is they get stuck in local minima, so they may find a solution that's good, but not the best one. Right? So you may find something here, but there's something here, just because the surface is very rough. So we just found a way of always finding the minimum of that reflection curve. So that's roughly what I, worked on for about 5 years. Okay. You give 5 years, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so the next question, the fans wanted to know if you are still in touch with some people from your NSMQ days, and how often do you guys connect?
Oh, all the time. All the time. I mean, Aubrey is in Baltimore at Johns Hopkins affiliated. Whenever we can, of course, he's very busy. I'm very busy, right? So whenever I'm there, I always see him. Vincent, whenever we're in the same city, I mean, we definitely see each other. So that sometimes, it takes a few years between meetings, unfortunately, because life takes people in different directions, but yeah, I mean, I don't expect to ever stop seeing them and meeting with them. And not just Vincent and Aubrey, I mean, everybody else. Yao, BC4, anybody? If there are any of us boys on the call, no, BC4 probably. We use numbers to describe ourselves. I'm BC103, BC4, or boy 4, anytime in Accra, I see that guy. So, I mean, we keep in touch.
Okay, that's nice to hear. The next question is, someone wanted to know the kind of work you're doing in Ghana, or if you'll be doing any work in Ghana, any projects that are being executed here.
Thank you for asking that very important question. There are a few initiatives I'm working on. So probably the flagship one is the Ghana Natural Language Processing. It's an open source initiative that I co-founded Stephen Moore at University of Cape Coast. And Dan Baba from Harvard. So it relates to this language technology, so computer understanding human language. We do not have, so for instance, we don't have Google Translate. There's no Twi version of it for some reason. So you can translate English to Russian very easily on Google, or even Swahili. Some of the Southern African languages are in it, but there's none for Twi. Even for a lot of the ones in Nigeria, which is such a huge market, I don't understand it. But there's no Google Translate, and of course the reason is because of data. There's usually availability of data and stuff. So we are working on that problem. So, and it's open source. So we have over 50 members. I even lost track. I get like 5 or 6 requests to join the group a day. It's growing very fast. A lot of very smart kids taking part, participating, contributing. We are trying to teach them like all these technologies, like GitHub, TensorFlow, neural networks. Microsoft supports us with free cloud computing, which we allow the kids to use so that they can pick up those skills. And hopefully, within a few months, we are going to release some a bunch of papers and like software that you can use if you're an entrepreneur. You can use that stuff. Whether you need to build some app for the smartphone to understand how a person who doesn't speak English, maybe in all the various languages we have, like Frafra, Amfrafra. So Frafra language to English translator, so that people providing services can go to those areas and communicate with those people easier, right? Or those people can start using the internet more because most of it is in English, right? Or we can begin to understand security threats. When people are having conversations in different languages, we can begin to understand them. So that's Ghana Natural Language Processing. If anyone's interested in that, please join us. That's one initiative. My startup has a branch in Ghana. We are trying to do some of this social media analysis problems, for various applications. So, for instance, you can have even for COVID. We haven't yet demonstrated this, fully, but for COVID, right? If you're looking at what people are tweeting about, and suddenly in a certain area of the country you see people tweeting about the symptoms associated with COVID, then that might be a sign that there's an outbreak going on there, right? So this is just an example of a way that you can use artificial intelligence for healthcare applications, right? There are lots of potential things. My brother built a knapsack sprayer. It's like a hardware device. This is not software. Hardware. So you can wear it and you walk around and it sprays stuff, right? So you can use that to clean, or you can use that to spray disinfectants in markets. Like these are just some examples. We work on a lot of projects. Not everything works out. Sometimes you develop the technology, but there's no money to invest to build the technology, right? And so it sits there. You try a few different things. Eventually, something lands, right? And hopefully, in the process, you do useful things. You train some people, and that's the journey. If you enjoy what you do, right?
That's definitely if you enjoy what you're doing. Yeah. The next question here is on your other project, so specifically Dr. Pushkin. People want to know about your musical career and how you're balancing that with your entrepreneurship and like academic work. People just want to know more about Dr. Pushkin and what inspired Dr. Pushkin.
Okay. So, I am. Do you know who Pushkin is? The historical figure?
You'd have to tell me about that a little.
I have to expound. Okay. So Pushkin is considered to be the greatest Russian poet. That's pretty, like if you talk to people, everybody pretty much agrees that that's in the history of Russian literature, which is, I mean, one of the most prominent, if not the prominent in the world. Pushkin is considered to be the greatest poet. Now, what some people might not know about Pushkin is that Pushkin was actually part African.
Okay.
So Pushkin was a descendant of, a descendant of some slave from some other country that got, anyway, some story there. And then, in Russia, he became free.
Okay.
He was enslaved. And his descendants, basically, one of them was Pushkin. And my mother is Russian. So I spent part of my childhood in Russia. So when I was a child, actually, like in grade 3, 4, science, I was good in science, and I liked science always, and math. But what stood out to my teachers was my writing. So naturally, because I'm also, African, they would say, "Oh, is this Pushkin? Pushkin again. Pushkin returned, right?" So maybe it was like a funny thing, or like a nickname. But I was good at it. I remember seriously thinking about becoming an author of poetry and prose, and like being basically the next Pushkin. But then I moved to Ghana, and I lost my proficiency with the Russian language. I don't have the same kind of proficiency anymore. But of course, I had to find a way to express myself. Like that aspect of me didn't go away, right? And so I started doing it in English and just hip hop, kind of naturally. I don't know. It worked for me. I like music. My brother musically is very talented, always making up melodies. I have, I think, some skills in that domain too. So it just naturally evolved. It was a nice way to express myself, continue this artistic journey, if you like. And since then, I just kept doing it. I know, like people like to think that art and science are two different things, but I don't really subscribe to that. And actually, in my art, I try to demonstrate that that's not true. So, for anyone who's listened to or seen any of the recent releases that I've put out, one of them was Questions, was the first one, and the questions video was actually made using a novel application of artificial intelligence.
Okay.
Right. So basically, they call it style transfer. All you're doing is you're trying to animate or create animations using like artificial intelligence. So the way people created animations a long time ago is they drew it frame by frame, right? Maybe by looking at a model or something. So basically, you teach a neural network to look at an image and create a drawing. And you do it for every frame of the video. And you do it in various styles that are visually appealing. So you can train a neural network to draw like Van Gogh. Or you can train a neural network to draw like some, other Da Vinci, right? And then see what they come up with, right? And that video is basically what my system came up with. And people look at it and they like what they see, and they get into So for some people, even much more than what I'm saying in the song, which I hope eventually they hear what I'm saying in the song, which is, so it's just a medium to get the message heard, which the message is usually something about, our society,
Okay.
But, I try to be uplifting, Sometimes, of course, I have fun, we have fun songs, we have songs for, we have love songs, we have some Afrobeats. We've done some Afrobeats. We actually recently did a single with Suribia, who just won the 3 music awards.
Oh.
Yes, he raps in Frafra. His claim to fame is he's like the Frafra Sarkodie, basically.
Oh, that's nice.
There's not as many Frafras as Sarkodie's people, so it's not. Yeah, he's definitely not as big as Sarkodie, but to us, he's Sarkodie. Right?
Yeah.
He holds our our language up, and he performs in that language, and it's very impressive. He's on my song, and that to me, that's like, whoa, So that we have some Afrobeats. We have Afrobeats collaborations with some very talented Zimbabwean artists, for instance. So I encourage you to check it out. If you go to if you go to my website, it's all linked there. So I hope you check it out. Let me know what you think.
Yeah. So all the work you've done is listed on www.azunre.com.
Yes.
Okay. Yep. Cool. So people can check that out after the live and just like follow you and get to know more about your work, and those who want to stay in touch can just reach out to you from there.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so we are almost at the end of the live session. The last few questions are just about your future plans, if you have any that you can share with us. And yeah.
Future plans. Well, I think we've kind of have been talking about them. So all the things I'm doing now, I hope to continue doing to a great extent. So I mentioned the Ghana Natural Language Processing Project. That problem will never be solved fully. We can only keep pushing the the states of that knowledge forward and keep getting it better and better, right? So I hope to keep doing that. I think it's going to become more important as we begin to adopt, digitally more and more. It's going to become more and more important. So that will likely continue for a while. The work I'm doing with some of the agricultural projects I mentioned, I hope we can elevate that to another level. I'm writing a book now called Transfer Learning and Natural Language Processing. And the reason I picked that subject is because it's actually related to all of these things we are talking about. So transfer learning just enables you to learn or train computers a lot faster with less data and less computing resources. This is important to us because, like to achieve some of the things that Google is doing or Facebook is doing, you need tens of thousands of GPUs in some instances, right? So naturally, you can't have a kid somewhere in, Cape Coast who is trying to solve a problem, doesn't have access to that. But if you are smart about how you do your training, and if you reuse the knowledge instead of trying to gain your knowledge all the way from scratch, which is the way humans learn, you can actually achieve those things. So this is what the book is about. I hope to contribute. This is not only important to us, it's something the whole world is thinking about now, because we want to keep making the machine learning systems more efficient. So this is a very great way to do that. So I'll continue. I think it's in about 3 months the book will be done. You can already get the early chapters available.
Okay.
After I finish that, who knows? I don't know what will happen after that. Hopefully it evolves into some of these projects, and merges with some of these projects, and helps, the knowledge helps some of these projects I'm working on because they're all related. Yeah, and I mean, I consider myself lucky to work on such interesting things. If someone told me this was my job when I was starting out, I would have said, where do I sign? Right? So I hope to continue doing this for as long as I can. Yeah.
That's great. Last question before we go. One of our fans wanted to know what keeps you motivated since during your NSMQ time, what kept you going? Even after that, what has kept you going through all these years?
What has kept me going? It's a good question. I think I convinced myself long ago that there's no other option. Let's say that. Oh. And that's probably a mind trick I played on myself because it was true. I don't know what I would do. What else am I gonna do with my time? I really enjoy what I work on, and it's very important. I think it's very important. Probably the most important thing is to pick something to work on that you really truly enjoy. And if you do that, it's not going to be a difficult question to answer, right? You're not going to have to push yourself all day. I mean, sometimes you're going to have to, for sure, but it will be a lot easier. Let's just put it that way, if you enjoy what you do. And I think I've been lucky, I guess, maybe even privileged to find these things. I think a lot of the time you have to go out there and find them, and really like that's what your education should be about, is try a few different things, and the thing that really drives you, your heart, is what you should stick with. And then these questions answer themselves, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Did I answer all of it, or there was a second part?
You did. It's the question was about what kept you going, and you talked about how you basically told yourself this was the only way. So it kept you motivated because it was the only path you thought you had to take. And I'm sure that helped focus your decisions, and at every step you knew that this was the right thing to do. So yeah, it's very inspiring. So I think the last thing from you would be a message to the current NSMQ competitors, the schools, the students preparing for the NSMQ this year, and a message to our NSMQ fandom in general.
Okay. I honestly believe that NSMQ is probably the most impactful, it might be the most impactful thing on Ghana television.
Okay.
The thing that, based on my peers and everybody I know, and just how much it has impacted the lives of people in terms of, people who have gone through the process and made themselves go through the process, and all the skills they picked up, and all of the ways those skills help them through their careers, as I have described for me. I think that impact is very important, and I think it's very rare for something like this. Like, I've been to other countries and I haven't seen. I think we have something very special. That's what I'm saying. And if you are participating in the program, you probably do, I hope, and I think a lot of people do, but I'll say it anyway. You probably understand this, and you understand how important it is. Please do everything you can to support the program, because it's not always, you shouldn't be taken as granted that it will continue. There were years when it didn't happen because there was no sponsorship, right? Unfortunately, education doesn't get the same attention as maybe some other parts of life, which they should. I hope to do everything I can to change that. Everybody here can do something to change that. And of course, one of the things you can do is, take this seriously, learn as much as you can, be nice to each other, very important, because life doesn't end after the contest, right? You're going to go maybe start a company with one of these competitors, right? One day, right? Or they might help you or give you a nice opportunity, right? So be nice to each other, support the program, learn what you can, play fair. And I mean, this is, understand that this is something very special. And I hope to see you at the next show, and I'll be watching you. So put on your best.
Yeah. Last request from our fans before we go. They want either of two things. Either you do the Imanus, or you give us a freestyle from Dr. Pushkin.
Wow. Is that okay? So freestyle. So a lot of rappers lie. They rap something they wrote and they say it was a freestyle, right? So this won't be a freestyle as long as that's acceptable. It will be a written verse.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's see. This one is called Another Day, and I wrote it actually when I was writing my dissertation, and it actually falls into all the things we've been discussing. So it's pretty good.
Okay.
Another day to give, another one to take, another day to make another mistake. The mistakes that I make often keep me awake, keeping opinions opaque just for my own sake. Feeling myself swim to the other side of the mainstream, feeling dreams get darker. I don't scream, they scream back, then attack, twist the facts. My mind is locked with the padlock. The key does not exist, a twist. On the inside, where sanity slides and hides behind every creation of mine. My obstacle, lack of time, still find the time to rhyme. Remind myself to keep dreaming, keep trying to climb. Don't have much time. Time is sublime, but sooner, very soon, the time will be mine, the time to shine. Not today, not yesterday, some other day, one of many. Tomorrow, very near, beckoning me to share. Experience yesterday, then another day, say what you may say, I'll say what I need to say, I'll play the way that I play, do it my way. The time scale is fragile, ironically it's temporal, it's impermanence and transience makes sense, maybe, here for a reason. Maybe there is no meaning, no end to this demeaning, self-destructive careening. Seeing the truth with my eyes, I see this guy and he lies. Then see the truth and despise it, because being true is not wise. Watching the sunrise above the troubled skies, I realize the truth lies, defies, denies, trying to rise. Real slow, but keeping it going. What for, I don't know, but it is all I know. The day will end. Another day will come with another mission. This is my human condition.
Wow.
That's it.
Wow. People still want you to do the Imanus though. People still want you to do the Imanus though before we go.
Only if they do it with me. I think I'll embarrass myself.
Okay. So thank you very much for.
I am on a cheer for life though.
Okay.
So,
I hope they accept that. Yeah. But thank you very much for joining the live session. It's sad that we didn't get to ask all the questions we wanted to ask, but I'm sure if we all visit Dr. Azure's website and use the contact forms, there we can get in touch with him directly for some of our more pressing questions. So
Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, all of them. I try to respond to all the questions. If I don't respond immediately, it's just because there are a lot of them. So, but I'll try and get to it.
Okay. All right, so thank you very much for joining from all of us at Primetime and NSMQ. Thank you for inspiring our fans, inspiring the contestants for this year, and we hope that this is only another engagement with you, and we'll be doing more things together in the future.
I definitely hope so.
All right. Bye.
Okay. Peace out. See you.
All right.